I grew up in London and I worked for a hedge fund for 10 years until I was about 28. My sister married a Colombian guy. I came out to Colombia on holiday. I looked around and I was like, I need to stay. What can I do? And I looked at coffee, I looked at gold, I looked at financial services. The financial services sector here is controlled by 3 or 4 families. It's very small. And by pure chance, I was speaking to a client. He said to me, George, you're in Colombia. The best emeralds in the world are from Muso, or from the Muso region. He said, why don't you look at them? It's the same people that invest in hedge funds purchase fine emeralds and jewellery as investment. You should have a look. And at the same time, the guy that ran the emerald business, Victor Carranza, was on his deathbed. So we're going back to like 2012, 2013. And The Economist ran an article saying, what's the future for Colombia's emerald business? Will it go back to the green wars of the 80s and 90s, or will it formalise in the way that diamonds have in South Africa? So I thought, this is interesting, and I spent a few months researching slowly. I bought a couple of stones. I came back to London and I sold the stones to a very well-known jeweller just by walking in. He was like, surprised by the quality. And I realised there's a business here, It's a business that allows me to be in a country that I love and allows me to travel all over the world because there's global appetite for the product. And it just grew from there. And every day it's been a learning process, or steep learning curve. We're still learning every single day. I'm very happy here. I guess what fascinates me really is the story, the provenance, the fact that these mines have 500 years of documented history, and they were exploited for thousands of years before that by the indigenous people. And if you look at the 1600s, 1700s, when Europeans were travelling on galleons between the New World and Europe, and these emeralds have ended up in the collections of royal families all over the globe. It's fascinating to think about that trade. That era fascinates me, Plus you've got all those galleons at the bottom of the seabed that are full of gold, silver and emeralds, and that whole history is what I find most interesting, if I'm honest with you, as opposed to the whole gemological aspect, which, Well, it's funny, it's changed a lot since I started the business 12 years ago. There's been huge changes. Demand has always been strong. It's consistently strong for the last 12 years, demand. But what we're seeing is less and less production, and there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, the mines are in the hands of 2 or 3 multinationals, most of the mines, the producing mines. So there's a lot of strangle or control as far as supply is concerned, and these multinationals are stockpiling stones, and they don't necessarily allow those stones to be cut, polished and traded in Colombia as they have been for decades, if not hundreds of years. So there's that's affecting supply, and there's also environmental legislation that's making extraction more difficult, costlier, more time consuming. There's also the increased cost of extraction. Raw materials, certainly since COVID, we're talking, inflationary pressure on raw materials has been insane. I mean, we're paying double, triple for wood, for dynamite, for all those things. So the market, as I say, demand is super strong, supply is very difficult. I've got orders for important no-oil stones from 5 to 20 carat. If I had 20 of those stones tomorrow, I'd sell them in an hour. can't get our hands on them. So production is weak. Yeah, I'd say provenance is probably the single most interesting factor as far as prices are concerned. You know, I never shy away from the fact that Zambia, Brazil, even Russia, they produce beautiful stones. Afghanistan, and they're stunning, certainly in small sizes. Colombia is the only producer of big gem quality stones. That aside, the market wants Colombian goods. That's what they want. Why? Because of that rich history, because of the provenance, because of the story. And we are seeing a lot of big brand jewelers start to work with Brazilian, with Zambian, with Afghan goods, just purely because prices every year are higher. And you know, a lot of these big brand jewelers, they need to work in huge margins in order to make their operation sustainable. You're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on advertising, and you have to do it. So it's not that they don't want to use Colombian goods, but they're having to use goods from other markets. I think the main point that you should consider when you're buying anything in life is who you're buying it from. You know, where are you doing your shopping? You know, who are the people behind the operation? There's loads of accounts on Instagram now selling goods, and as with any online market, you've unfortunately got unscrupulous dealers out there that, you know, there's lots of horror stories basically. So who are you buying from? How long have they been in business? Can you verify them online? And then in terms of certification, look, everything that we supply comes on a local certificate first. And if the customer wants Gublin, SSEF, AGL, GRS, we can take care of it. We've got accounts at all of the major gem labs. Obviously, if it's a $3,000 to $5,000 stone, it doesn't make sense to go and pay $1,000 or $800 at Gublin, which is 20% of the stone's value. Plus the results that you'd see on the local certificate are always in line with what the Swiss certificate's going to say. So you want a local cert first, and where possible, ask for additional certification, you know, understanding there's going to be a cost for it. And also, as far as what to buy, if you can afford it, buy Colombian, right? Buy Colombian. Why? There's huge secondary market liquidity for Colombian stones. The Zambian market, yeah, you'll pay 80% less for a stone that might be equally beautiful, but try reselling it, you know? There's very, very limited secondary market liquidity. Look at the auction houses, look at Christie's and Sotheby's, look at the auction results. It's all Colombian, with the exception of the odd, very fine Afghan stone that no oil above 10 carat, which is a rarity, or the Zambian stones that might be in a big brand setting. Otherwise, the fine end of the market doesn't want to know about anything else. So origin, if you can buy Colombian, buy Colombian. Numbers, the Asian market loves an 8. You know, I've probably 15 or 20 times have recut stones to leave them 888, 808, 8 carat, avoid 4 carat 44, which I think 4 is an unlucky number. In the same way with diamonds, if you can buy a stone that's 3 carat 01 instead of 2 carat 99, you know, there's little things like that to consider. Yes, so Colombia's become increasingly popular with tourists, mainly from the US. And look, there's tens, if not hundreds, of jewellery stores. So here downtown in Bogota, there's one street where most of the stores are concentrated. In Cartagena, which is probably the most important tourist hotspot in Colombia, I think you've got 50 stores in and around the old town. Look, most of these stores are very commercial quality goods. There's one or two in Cartagena that have, you know, what I'd call gem quality, but you won't find in any of these any kind of Swiss certification or any international certification. You'll be lucky to find local certs. So most of the goods are uncerted. They'll give you like a receipt or whatever. And yeah, I think the certifications, it's incredibly important. So if you're going to be here in Colombia, you want to shop around, but by all means come to our office. Drop me an email beforehand, say I'm going to be in town X, Y, Z days, and make an appointment, and we'll show you I think there's 400 pieces of jewellery there. There's always hundreds of loose stones, and if we don't have it, we'll help you find it in a secure location. And you can also visit the gem lab, which is on the 12th floor. You meet the gemologists, and they'll verify the stones for you if they don't have the international certs. So that would be the first point of call. Come and see us. But if you're out on the street and you see something you like, just insist on some kind of certification from an independent third party. I think the common mistake that the novice buyer will make is not researching what they want, right, and end up buying the wrong type of stone or a stone that they don't like. 2, going to the wrong place to buy the stone. Look at the refund policy. Best thing anybody can do is buy themselves a copy of my friend Ron's book, Emeralds: A Passionate Guide. It's a 9-year-old book now, a 10-year-old book, but it's still as relevant today as it was then. Perhaps the pricing bit isn't, because prices now are at least double, if not triple, what they were 10 years ago. But it's the only truly comprehensive guide to Colombian emeralds that there is in the market. There's a few other books. GRS have got a great one, but Ron's tells you everything you need to know. You spend a week reading it, and then you should have no issues. Yeah, as I say, Alpine Green, the business was born out of a desire to be in Colombia, a desire to live here and enjoy the country, and to get away from the madness of Europe, which we all know what's going on there. And culturally, there's everything to do here, whereas in Europe or the old world, it seems that everything's been done. So it's a different energy. And we grew relatively quickly. We're 12 people, 13 people. And I don't think I want to grow the day-to-day operation anymore. We have gemologists, 2 cutters, a guy that's dedicated to doing all the treatment. There's jewellery designer. I'm the only guy that does the selling. I manage all the Instagram messages, the emails, customer facing, and I never want to give that to anybody else. I don't want to bring on any sales staff, because it's not. I want to provide the service. Yeah, I can't do it for everybody, but that's just the philosophy that I have, to do one thing and do it properly, and not, So we won't really grow from there as far as the emerald manufacturing and trading business is concerned. But Alpine Green will continue to increase its focus as a Colombian company. So we're a Colombian company and a US company. We'll continue to focus more and more on the mining side of the business. So I'm a shareholder in 2 important titles in the Muso region, or the company is. And the idea is to develop those mines over the next few years. Why? To secure access to goods, and hey, it's an amazing project. If you come to the Muso region, it's wild, it's jungle, it's tropical, and it's completely artisanal in its nature still. It hasn't changed much from 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago. I think other than dynamite, it's still very basic. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And with that opportunity, hopefully it brings in, investment into the region, which is desperately needed. You go to the town of Muso and it's quite sad, really, because they're pulling billions of dollars out of those mountains. But, and we pay a load of money in taxes and export fees, huge amounts of money, but you just don't see it in the region. So to do something nice for the people also would be great. But that's Alpine Green. I mean, that's the company, that's the focus for the next few years. Grow the mine and keep supplying fine stones to private individuals, collectors, auction houses, jewellery brands, whoever we manage to develop an interesting working relationship with. There's lots of people, if you get on with them, you want to work with them. Can't work with everyone. For me, they have to be perfectly cut, number one. There's I don't know if it's a Colombian attitude to emeralds, and that's to cut to retain as much weight as possible. So sometimes you've got these deeply cut stones because people want to save weight. Whereas I guess the European attitude is more about perfection and that kind of thing. So yeah, I want it perfectly cut. So I'm often actually buying stones in the wholesale market, recutting them in-house, and then sending them out. So obviously with all coloured stones, colour is extremely important, and it's the main driver of prices. However, not everybody can afford a top colour Colombian emerald. So, you know, it could be a slightly lighter coloured stone. For me, it's important that a stone has lustre, clarity, life, you know. I think the Indian market particularly likes colour, and they're not so bothered if it's translucent or it's quite sleepy. You know, I don't really kind of work with those goods. There's a market for everything, you know. You go to Brazil and they love the really, really pale Colombian goods, really pale. They're almost blue. They almost look like Paraiba tourmaline. They love that. So as long as there's some colour, you know, so you know it's an emerald, and there's transparency in life, that's what I want for my customers. You know, people will come on and go, George, I want a 20 carat stone. I'm not worried about the transparency. I just want it to be really intense. Okay, we'll supply it. If I don't have it, I'll find it. But what I like for my clients is the fine goods, you know, top quality. The market for trapiche emeralds is still very much in its inception. As you know, trapiche emeralds are characterised by having 6 black spokes. The more well-defined they are, the more valuable the stone is, along with the 4 C's, so you know, colour, clarity, and the rest of it. So you're looking for something that's intensely green with well-defined 6 spokes. Now, prices are still very low, incredibly low, because the fine jewellery market hasn't really started to work with them. And they're amazingly beautiful. I mean, we've always got pieces in stock of, you know, whether it's rings or long earrings, and they're stunning. But we sell very few pieces. Every now and then somebody will come on and go, look, I'm in love with trapiche emeralds. I've been reading about them. They're totally unique to the Muso region, and they admire the very unique aspect to them. But most people don't know what they are. And if you walk into, you know, Van Cleef or Harry Winston or Graf, you're never going to see a trapiche emerald, not for the minute anyway. So hopefully that will change. We've worked with 2 or 3 designers that are based out in Asia that appreciate trapiche emeralds and have done some amazing work, and people fall in love with the pieces. But I just think there's a real lack of consumer understanding. So prices are low. It's there. It's a great time to buy trapiche emeralds.